I've been
Hmm.
thinking like this too. Maybe some of the other episodes for this album, right? Where I've kind of said, hey, you know what? That sounded a lot like, something that was in later years. And it just, I think as we go through this album, song by song, I think I'm realizing how much of an influence
Mhm.
this album was on artists that, you and I grew up sort of loving, like, just,
Yeah.
yeah, things we just heard. Yeah, man. Yeah.
No,
So,
at the same time, I hear what you're saying. I agree with you. How many people, how many artists he's influenced,
yeah.
right? But when I look up this stuff, because this is all these songs you're reacting to, so I'm the one looking up the information. And of course, they just do this anyway when they talk about any kind of song or musician. You look it up online and you find out all the influences they have, before them to make them
Yeah.
what they are.
Hey, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Into the Music. My name is Greg. That guy over there is Chris. And Chris, tell everyone what you have for me, for everyone out there today.
Okay, we're back to doing our videos from Ziggy, the rise and fall of Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars, the David Bowie album. So we're up to a track called "Hang On to Yourself," and I don't think you're familiar with this one. I think we talked about which ones right?
That is
So
true. Yeah, don't know this one.
okay, so I think you're in for a treat. We'll find out if you think the same
Yeah,
afterwards, and let me know.
I will.
Lucy, the tongue-twisting song, come to the show tonight, bring to the light machine. She wants my honey, not my money, she's a focus eye collector, her baby knows an electric dream. But come on, we really got a good thing going. But come on, if you think we're gonna make it, better hang on to yourself. Oh, we can't dance, we don't talk much, we just ball and play. But then we move like badges on Vaseline. Well, the beat that comes up later on a stolen guitar. You're the blessed with the spiders from Mars. But come on, we really got a good thing going. But come on, if you think we're gonna make it, you better hang on to yourself. Come on. Oh! Lay it on. Come on, we really got a good thing going. But come on, if you think we're gonna make it, you better hang on to yourself. But come on, we really got a good thing going. But come on, if you think we're gonna make it, you better hang on to yourself.
That was way too short. I mean, some of these songs in this album are just really short. Um, I like that. I like that. I mean, maybe even that might just be a little too short. I wanted a little bit more of that. I love the fast pace. I love the acoustic, almost doubling as a percussion. I mean, it's really the acoustic was actually behind the scenes, really doing a great job in helping to keep the song moving along. Almost like a second drum. Uh, yeah, this was really cool. I like this song. Let's talk with Chris about this.
Hey, I'm back. So this is like another short song, man. Just
Yeah,
kind of,
very short.
you
Yeah.
know,
I
I
think it's
don't.
under 3 minutes, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, I think so. Definitely didn't even have time for a cup of coffee. It's just kind of like it's just out. Um, yeah, I gotta tell you though, I liked it, man. I liked it. I really
Okay,
did.
good. Good
I
deal.
really did. It it was just it was just in full motion. It just as soon as it started, it just had this beat that just didn't stop. Um,
Hmm.
and not painting the picture of like craziness, right? But um, just this real steady beat. What was really interesting, a couple of things um, that I kind of like, was writing, kind of scrambled on the paper. A couple of things. First, there was like one of the verses, might have been like the second verse, where a little bit he was kind of doing like a sing talk, more like a talking kind of thing. The cadence,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
his tone, because there was like I think there was where he was kind of low, and then the next line he went really high, But where he was low, and the cadence, man, it really reminded me of Mark Knopfler, from Dire Straits, and I was just like, what? I'm wondering,
Oh, when he's doing the talking part more.
yeah, yeah, it really
Okay.
reminded me, and I'm just, I've been
Hmm.
thinking like this too. There maybe some of the other episodes for this album, right, where I've kind of said, hey, you know what? That sounded a lot like, something that was in later years. And it just, I think as we go through this album, song by song, I'm realizing how much of an influence
Hmm.
this album was on artists that, you and I grew up sort of loving, like, just,
Yeah.
yeah, things we just heard. Yeah, man. Yeah. So,
At the same time, I hear what you're saying. I agree with you. How many people, how many artists he's influenced,
yeah,
right? But when I look up this stuff, because this is all these songs you're reacting to, so I'm the one looking up the information. And of course, they just do this anyway when they talk about any kind of song or musician. You look it up online and you find out all the influences they have, before them to make them
yeah,
what they are. Um, so I was looking up this one, and it's funny. It says this is Wikipedia. It says the main riff is representative of glam rock's influence as a bridge between 1950s rock and roll, specifically rockabilly, and the punk rock to come. That's kind of interesting.
that
And listen
really
to
is.
this. It
Yeah.
draws on rockabilly influences such as Eddie Cochran.
Wow.
So I'm
Yeah.
thinking, I'm thinking Eddie Cochran songs, and now I'm thinking, yeah, that that kind of
Yeah.
thing, that
Yeah.
fiddle, and
Yeah.
the way the acoustic guitar was used for that too. Eddie Cochran was big, with that too. I think Sometime Blues or 20 Flight Rock, stuff like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, just so yeah, this whole continuation of influences. And I was thinking about it, it's like this big, it's a big web, you know. People are influencing people who are their contemporaries, the people who come after them, they're influenced by the people before them. It's just all of a big, it's all a big thing. And it's like kind of rambling here, but I was thinking about, like, people get accused of cultural appropriation, and I get that, but at the same time, it is one big web. So really, eventually, everybody's going to be doing everything, right? I mean, if
Well, I
everyone's
mean,
influenced by everybody else.
to me too, it could be looked at like almost like an unintentional handing of the baton off to other people too. You've gone as long far as you could in your career. Rock and roll music business can be very um uh unforgiving. It takes a toll on people too, right? And as they're kind of like, going up into the sunset, um, there's almost like this kind of, I'll take that. I listen to your stuff. I mean, you're not consciously thinking like that, but like,
Right, right,
you know,
right.
the new folks, the folks, the younger,
Yeah.
they're ready to step onto that stage, step into like where they sort of were, and then just,
Mhm.
influenced by sounds, influenced by their look, by and/or, tick all the above, some of the above. Yeah, and I think there's a lot to that, and I think that's fair. I think that's actually okay. I think that you and I wouldn't love so much music, have so much musical kind of in our brains and running through our bloodstream, our DNA, if it wasn't for all this sort of years, generation to generation, handing down of just, of this musical sort of knowledge, inspiration, and kind of thing, And Bowie was a recipient of that. Absolutely. You could tell on this album, there's a lot of influences, there's the rock and
Mhm.
roll, there's yeah, and he's taking that and he's making that to something, you know, really, really yeah, really. I mean, but you have to be a very creative budding artist, where you have the talent to kind of like take that and sort of have that stuff manifested, like you take that and you have to do something with it, right?
Right.
Up to you. And Bowie,
Yeah, he definitely has that have that ability. Yes,
yeah, absolutely,
and he
absolutely.
had it
And
in
now
spades.
people, yeah, and then how many people have like just sort of like gone to the David Bowie school of rock and roll music, and just have graduated and just have, look at the stuff that they've done. So yeah.
Well, you look
Um,
at, I'm always surprised. Well, I'm often surprised when we cover some of these bands, even ones that we've known before, where you know we have to do some research and then find out, oh yeah, okay, I never heard it that way before, that there was this influence from this, or this is reminiscent of that, or
yeah.
whatever. And it really all comes, like I said, into it's like one big family, one, of sounds and songs and influences.
Yeah. Then that was great. Then the other thing, there's something else too, and it was the where oh my God, right. So it's acoustic guitar.
Oh, you
So
talked
like you
about
had
that
a really
before on this
fast,
album, right?
yeah, real fast paced kind of beat, right? And you had that drum and the bass. We talked about almost like the bass and the drum almost becoming like, you know, morphed into like one instrument, its own thing. But the acoustic was doing this drum that was like almost it was doubling as another sort of percussion. It was just
Yeah. Well,
I
think
thought,
about
yeah,
that's
it was
kind of
so
like in
cool.
line with the Eddie Cochran thing. Think about Summertime, the original Summertime Blues, right?
Yeah, right.
Very percussive
Yeah,
drumming
exactly.
there.
Yeah. Well, because it didn't sound like a real because it was kind of in the background, so it was really hard to, but it didn't seem like a real full strum. It was kind of like taking the strings and kind of like really, how you sort of touch them a little bit and you're making them into like, this kind of percussion kind of thing, really beat thing. Um, that was really cool. So this song was just, this one, no wonder why I didn't get a radio play because it's one of these sort of it's got a little quirky kind of to itself. Um, it wasn't the sexy hey hit written all over it, and yet it actually is. I think it stands out. Out of all the songs I listened to so far, I'm not saying it's the best, but I'm saying that it made me really pay attention.
Mhm.
Maybe a little bit more. There was something really cool about that. So um, yeah, yeah, I really like that song, man.
Cool. Yeah, proto punk. All right, man. So,
Yeah, yeah,
okay. So I'll take us out.
yeah.
Okay. So thanks for watching, and be sure to catch us next time on the next David Bowie song, which we're doing, which is, I believe, Ziggy Stardust. And go back and watch all the other ones we've done from this album.
Do I
We
know
think they're
that?
all good. We might be a little biased, but check it out for yourself. And we'll catch you next time on Into the Music.
See ya. See ya.